Welcome back. It's still Global Morning, and we're still here. There's a whole lot to talk about in this particular discussion segment. We're moving away from the issue of trafficking, and then we're moving into how we can discover talents and get our footballers standing tall in the spotlight. This is the sports segment, actually, on Global Morning Weekend. Welcome to this particular segment. So our focus right now will be looking at grassroots football talent and focusing on nurturing Nigerians' next generation stars. And I have joining me the sports director, Fosla Academy, in person of Jamil Abdullahi, who will give us the guide to what the academy is doing, how they're nurturing talents, both the male and female, especially in football, to see how Nigerians can stand on. Don't forget, the female football is also gaining grounds and momentum. And Super Eagles have a match today, Sunday, right? Yeah, today, Sunday. And so we want to hear from the academies what they're doing to see how we can bring more talents into that. Let's welcome our Director of Sport of Fosla Academy. It's good to have you join us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, there's a whole lot happening in the world of sport, especially football. Football is one sport that brings Nigerians, the world basically, to celebrate themselves and throw away all the bad times and then see that they enjoy themselves. The grassroots is my focus. I love to look at grassroots development, how people are groomed from the very beginning to get so. But how are Nigerians academics shaping Nigerians' male or tomorrow's male and female stars owing to what you do? Or should I start first? Let's talk about your academy, how you're doing that before we look at the nurturing of the stars.
Yes, thank you very much for the audience. So basically, Fosla Academy is a football academy that was nurtured by the former Nigerian Football Federation President, Alhaji Sani Lulu Abdullahi. And of course, from his track record, he's been a very committed, selfless civil servant to start with, who has also been very passionate in football activities and rendering football services to the nation at large. And so he came up after his tenure as the NFF president. In fact, before then, it's been something that he's always thought about, grassroots development. And so he came up with the idea of Fosla Academy, which means family of Sani Lulu Abdullahi, basically. And what it aims to achieve is identifying grassroots and talents, raw talents from grassroots, and giving them the opportunity to not just develop in football, but as well there is an opportunity for them to further their educational pursuits. That's in academics as well. So this is basically what it's been all about. And of course, there are categories for boys and girls. We try to ensure that they go through a rigorous screening process where we are at the end of the exercise, we identify the most promising talents and give them that opportunity in terms of a scholarship to the academy.
Yes. So like I was asking earlier before I asked you to give us a background to understand what we're saying, how are Nigerians academies, basically, let's look at yours and across fields, because of course you work in collaborations with people to see how you can better the lives of these young talents. How are Nigerians academies shaping tomorrow's male and female stars who we want to see in the spotlight?
So basically, our academy has been, we are very, very careful. We try to enlighten the system at large through our academy, our platform, about issues in relation to child trafficking. We try to prevent that. You know, a lot of people can easily fall victim to this sort of stakeholders trying to move them illegitimately out of the country. And so it's always very important if you can, you know, try to enlighten these children from, of course, especially the less privileged children. If you give them that opportunity to understand what their rights are, all about in football and what the expectations are meant to be moving forward. It prevents or reduces the chances of them, falling victims to this sort of shapeshifters, so to speak.
Okay,
Yes.
so there's a whole lot happening, and what must we change to raise quality and competitiveness? Because we have people who have the talent, but in terms of competitiveness and quality, how do we nurture them to understand that this is a competition? This is a place where you have a lot of people that dance around you. How do you raise people to that particular limelight?
Definitely. What's very, very sacrosanct is to give credit to who credit is due. So in that regard, you want to identify the best possible performers from a very tender age.
Okay.
And you try to nurture them psychologically. You give them the enabling environment to play, and build their mindset towards understanding that football is a very competitive sport. I mean, as we know now, more people are interested in football, and so it makes it much more competitive. So if you're not putting in a lot of efforts into it, you might lose out on the opportunity to, further your career, so to speak, professionally. But I think as it stands right now, we are doing really well because we've managed to have a number of our talents progress to the national teams. Like recently, we had one of our players represent Nigeria in the national under-17 FIFA World Cup in Morocco that just concluded, and she did pretty well by emerging the highest goal scorer in the Nigerian team.
Yeah.
Yes, and we've also, before then, we've had an under-20 player from our system as well that represented Nigeria at the WAFA stage.
Oh, great.
And he's progressed to represent play professionally in Tunisia with the name of the club titled Esperance.
Okay.
Yes.
So I like the fact that you have a program, you have a directive, you have a guide to how you put the players to understand what the world is looking out for from them. But how would you describe the current state of grassroots football development in Nigeria, owing to what you're doing and what you're trying to achieve?
I feel like we need more stakeholders on board that can visualize, have a vision and mission to, give people like children the opportunity to discover themselves in sports, not just football. Of course, our niche is football, but the more merit-based the selection process gets, the more naturally likely the chances are of the best performers representing Nigeria at an international stage.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, well, I see a lot of, we have the NLO, we have the NNL, we have, the NPFL and all that. So I like the fact that you have one of your own go out to the national stage and all that. But do you also look at them in opportunities where they play along the league points, where you're grooming them, so they understand where it is, that it is a growth system. It's not just automatic that you get the ticket straight into national teams.
Definitely. At the moment, we have a number of our players that finish from the academy going to represent our football clubs, be it from the boys or girls perspective. And as it stands currently, we play in the Nationwide League One, and for several years we've done all right, and the players understand the football demands aside schoolboy or schoolgirls football, because the more you progress, the more competitive it gets, meeting other teams that train every day and try to get the best out of their teams. Yes. Okay,
so I like the fact that you look at education, you look at the sporting side, and also tell them that you need to model the fact that you need to understand where you're going educationally before you look at the academy of just football. So I want to look at what unique model does your academy, that's FOSLA, use to blend that academic excellence with sporting excellence?
What we do, because we are a law-abiding institution, so we try to ensure we get the necessary licenses from the educational bodies. So it's like a joint curriculum, but from the sporting aspects and the secondary school education curriculum. So we get the relevant approvals from like the Department of Quality Assurance in Nigeria to ensure that the syllabus is something we follow. We don't go against the secondary school syllabus within Nigeria.
Great.
That's what we do. And then we have a lot of FIFA endorsed programs that we tend to teach, just like I talked about child trafficking.
Yes.
We teach as well the necessity for contracts, the nature of relationships with intermediaries. A lot of people need to understand these concepts so they don't get misguided moving on.
And I like that whole idea around that, because I just finished talking to a guest earlier. I talked about the child trafficking, where people look at the poverty line and take advantage because maybe soccer or football, we call it this way, has a lot of funds coming in, so they want to just push the child, don't care how the child is being taken care of or what priorities are set for the child's interests. They just look at those. So I like the fact that you bring into that curriculum of yours to get them understand their choices and what life gives to them. But let's look at the early talent identification. How do you identify them, ideally beginning from both the boys and the girls? At what point do you know that this person is good enough talent and we should not allow this talent fade away or die off like that?
So basically, the screening process, it's a national project, but the screening process is predominantly centered around Kogi states and the FCT, some parts of Nasarawa and Niger states. And so what we try to do is spread the word. There's usually a time frame within which we try to project a tournament, a football tournament, which also involves an academic assessment as well of the child's level. And then there's also a screening process where we try to ensure that the children, or alongside their legal guardians, tender their educational, birth certificates and primary school leaving certificates as well, to ensure that they are eligible to participate in the tournament and by extension go ahead, where they are really good, go ahead to be selected for the scholarship opportunity.
Great. I like that. I like the idea. But let's look at the female football. I like the he for she thing and how we can push the women to also get more grounds and all that. Nigeria's women's football is gaining global visibility, yet the grassroots pipeline remains thin. At the grassroots points, we still struggle for the women football. So I'm asked, how is Foster Academy bridging the gap for young female talent? So they don't look at the slim line where it's not just about the global stage, but they should understand it from that grassroots point.
By virtue of what we do, we emphasize the need for girls' education holistically in football and from the aspects of academics. And if you look at our track records, you would identify that we've participated. We have a lot of promising talents. Just like I cited, we had a girl that represented Nigeria. So we have more of them in our system. We are not biased or we are very gender sensitive.
I like the fact that you're gender sensitive.
Yes, so it's good. We've had, it's encouraging. It's always good to have a mix of it, because you don't want a situation or a society where you sideline one
and
gender
put one.
Then you try to encourage the other, so there has to be a mix of everything.
So
and we're doing well.
I like the fact that you're doing that. I like the whole idea you put around your academy. You're not looking at the putting one gender above the other gender. It's all gender inclusive and gender balanced. But let's look at the biggest challenges female footballers face at the grassroots level. What do you think is the thing that makes them have a comparison with their male counterpart when it comes to the grassroots level? Because I love grassroots.
Definitely. I think it might be, or let me say, it might have to do with family orientation. I believe the more families would be open to embracing, especially when you identify that maybe a girl child seems to be very sporting in nature, you could help her mentally to understand what sports she's interested in, and then encourage her, by possibly, getting environments, placing her in environments where she can nurture and hone the skill that you've identified her with.
Okay, yes. Well, so I hope that a lot of people will understand that and see where families can allow the female do better and stand tall, because football, sports generally should be acclimatized across all fields and get people to flow. But do you think Nigeria invests enough in the structure of female youth football? Because yes, we have our national team standard, but the particular one is in the youth structure for female football.
I want to believe that Nigeria needs to invest more in football, not just the female football.
Okay.
So that's my answer for that.
So what must change? If that's your answer, you're trying to be... What must change if you're thinking what I'm thinking? I don't know what you're thinking, but I'm just...
Psychic power.
All right, so let's look at quality standards and best practices. Let's focus on, because talent alone isn't enough. It's not about talent. So what key standards should every football academy in Nigeria meet to be considered truly developmental for these young people?
I believe that nutrition is a key value for sports, and I don't think we emphasize that a lot because you find players eating what they feel like sometimes, but I'm very sensitive to that. I try to ensure that my people within my own guidance system need to understand that nutrition is very key. How you eat would determine
what you eat
how
as
you
well.
perform. Yeah, what you eat. Also, the mindset that you shouldn't feel too entitled, regardless. Like you said, talent isn't enough.
Isn't enough, right?
It's not enough at all whatsoever. There was an instance where Osimhen talked about how he wanted to he played, when he was at Napoli, he played against Juventus.
Okay.
And at that point, Cristiano Ronaldo was in that team. And after the game, he wanted to take a picture with him. And so he had to wait. I think he said he met Gigi Buffon, so he had to wait with him. So immediately after the game, Ronaldo went on to still train. So you can imagine, after a 90 minutes game, you go on to still train for hit the gym for almost 1 hour.
Okay.
Then so it tells you how much sacrifice is required for advancements in football.
Well, I know I had a bit of a knowledge about playing football in my school days. Even though I didn't continue, I just felt more on the track part. And I know what it was like training all the while from that stage of life and to this point. So I know it has a lot of sacrifice, denial of self if you want to get to where you want to get to. So I see that you put that a lot in the minds of these young people and how important they need to see it in terms of their developmental skills if they want to stand tall and be in a good competition with others, because this is competition. Yeah, and for you to stand out, you need to be the best of the best before you get across. Well, let's look at how important are licensed coaches and modern training methods in shaping young players.
It's something we can't do without. You need coaches that can be man managers, not just scolding the players and being loud at them when they make mistakes, because you want to give them an environment to express themselves, not inculcate fear in them. So it's very important. But I also have been in situations where you have coaches that don't even really have any licenses, like let's say they coach a CAF B license and so CAF C. And then when you have interactions with them, they tend to even understand the game. They have a lot of depth, in terms of the tactical aspect of the game. So I think we should try to identify more of those coaches and possibly give them opportunities to get the necessary licenses, because they might as well be able to do the job better than some people that are already qualified. Not to denigrate anybody.
No, but the truth is, you can't give what you don't have. So when you have the necessary ideas, the necessary license, or in terms of the knowledge base, you sell out and you also rub it off on the players. So I'm always a campaign. I was in the word to speak out for have value to give back to people, so people don't just waste their whole time coming around and they don't get value for whatever they're supposed to give out. So you talked about nutrition. In terms of facilities, nutrition and welfare, what does an ideal academic structure look like for you when it comes to all of those things? Because I know for the grassroots, I've spoken to a lot of grassroots coaches, and one major concern they always throw around is the fact that they don't have facilities. They don't have enough for people to train as training grounds for them. So welfare is another concern. They always tell you players leave the country for better opportunities, welfare, better welfare, because this is what brings food to people's table. Yes, you train them in an academy, but the essence of the academy is for them to grow, is for them to make ends meet and also add to their families. So how does that set up the ideal structure for the academy?
For our academy, I think we're doing all right, because apart from the fact that we try to have a scholarship category for students, we have an opportunity for a certain class of people to pay for our services, rendering services based on education and football. And so that kind of gives us a leverage or wherewithal to, ensure we have the minimum amount of facilities, be it in having facilities for the trainings like football, the classroom, conducive environment, the pitches. So I think we are doing all right with that, in accordance with trying to replicate the FIFA standards.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we'll have to come around to see what your academy looks like and see what you're doing around. But let's look at what role should states, football associations, and NFF play in enforcing standards? Because yes, you have your standards, you have an understanding to what you're doing, but we need to see NFF play a good role in all of these things because they are the football house.
Simply put, more grants to academies that have a big vision would do for a start.
Okay.
Yes.
More grants. We'll need to talk to President on that. So let's look at scouting, talent discovery mechanisms and all that. Everywhere, talent is everywhere, but discovery is not. Like I said, you go out every morning, especially on the weekends, you see a lot of people playing on the empty field. There's a lot of time, but discovery is always the problem. I don't know why people don't understand how to see these guys. You see them playing and you're like, this guy would have been a good person on this national team or on this particular team and all that. How does foster scout talents from grassroots communities? Because this is an academy, but how do you go around the grassroots? Because we want to see that add to grassroots development of football.
So basically, we try to engage as much stakeholders, because you can't do that all by yourself.
Sure.
Engage coaches from different, endorsed coaches from the football FA. And to do the outreach to possibly local governments, and then we also do like online publicity services to ensure that anyone that is interested in this opportunity could, obtain the registration form and then apply, and then there will be a date where you assemble at a designated area, express yourself, showcase your skills, and if you're fortunate, everyone is fortunate one way or the other. If you're fortunate, you might get.
You get lucky.
Yes.
So this has to do with luck, and I'm getting lucky in the course of the the opportunities.
Yeah, I don't.
But because I'm looking at the communities abroad, we have a lot of them. Yes, you're in Abuja here, but we have a lot of communities from the suburbs and all that. So I just pray that they get lucky, because I have a lot of young people who also want the discovery of that thing. But let's see, is Nigeria missing out on players because of poor scouting networks or urban bias? Because that's one thing a lot of people tell you, it's an urban thing, it's just a class thing. They don't get to scout down to the point where there are more talents.
I would say no and yes.
Okay.
The best performing players from Nigeria are in Europe.
Okay.
So, or some other places abroad. So if we can make it a strong habit, because I understand administratively South Africa is doing something better than some other Northern African countries than perhaps Nigeria to an extent. So if we can up our game in trying to, invest locally, I'm sure we would be able to nurture the best talents, give them the relevant exposure and then they can meet up with the standards of our players abroad.
Okay, well, that's it for meeting up with the standard. We need to look at how our technology can improve talent identification across the remote settings, because that's where you can easily identify and know what the problem is. We need to look at the technology improvements. How can that be improved upon?
I think the VAR would be a good start in line with what's acceptable around more developing structures, because you want to sieve out as much as possible injustice in the course of play.
Okay.
I think that review aspect to the game that was introduced by FIFA, it's something that, but I've heard of some tournaments trying to introduce VAR, but it's not a widespread thing in Nigeria as it stands.
Okay, well, professionalism and international career path is one part where every young talent or every discovered talent wants to get to. We've seen Nigerian youngsters excel abroad, but how do we prepare them? Is the question a lot of people are asking. What is the realistic pathway from an academy to a professional or international football opportunity?
I think we have the model in our institution.
Okay.
But the only thing is football is very time bound. And so the usual transitional period is from when you're 14, 15, 16. Once you start to get 20-year-old, more football stakeholders around the world might be a bit skeptical. So if that's why we institutions all over need to emphasize the need for identify talents from a very tender age, 12, 13, and give them the opportunity to develop as soon as possible.
Okay.
And then, yes, hopefully better opportunities will come out of that.
Okay. Like I said, I like the way you're modeling your academy and how you guys are putting your thoughts together to see how this can play well. But we look at how to ensure young players balance education, which we've talked about, security opportunities, which I like the setting you've put in. But what safeguards are needed to protect these young players from exploitation, which you mentioned? But this is during transfers or trials, because we have them, like your youngster, which you mentioned under 17, has this opportunity. She's in the fame now, she's in the space, but she will need opportunities for transfers and all of those. So how do you safeguard them? How do you guide them through that process?
Yes, so it's a good one. It's a good question because for me, I'm a barrister by profession, so I tend to puncture loopholes in agreements. So if for instance, I always tell my players, don't go do sign agreements without
having a legal professional,
yes, to guide you through that process. So where there's a loophole, I can easily puncture.
Pick that.
That's for sure.
I like that. I like that because exploitation is one thing I always look out for young people who have the talents, but people just take advantage of them and want to get them out of the picture. Well, let's look at long-term development plans. What policy reform could transform grassroots football nationwide, basically? And then talk to us about the grassroots, basically from that point of view.
So for a start, possibly more grants to academies that are genuinely trying to nurture talents as a way of support, to serves as encouragement. We have that. We need to be less sentimental in the selection process as well.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is when you talk about loan grants and all that. So we're looking at private sector supporting the increase for youth football academies and all of that. But how can the government itself do differently to sustain grassroots infrastructure? Differently.
Probably setting out budgets.
Okay.
Having sports budgets, let's say in the budgets that are usually approved by the Senate and so on, like if sports can, be looked into in depth, that could be like a substitute for oil ventures in the future. So yes.
Okay.
Because with sports well aligned, articulated in Nigeria, it could generate a lot of resources.
Okay.
Nigeria, yes.
Okay, so I see that a lot of kids want to just play. You see a child I had my babies playing football yesterday, and I was looking at it like, so we look at the age of 2, 3, at what age basically should we look at getting kids to enter into academies, getting them to understand their path to life or pursue their talents or passion, which we help them nurture into talents. So at what age should we look at that?
From 4, 5 years, you should be able to tell if a child is, hyperactive in a way towards being very physical.
Okay.
You could tell that this child wants to do more physically. If he's kicking a ball, if you buy him toys, if you buy him, you could tell that if
this
he's
is his
going
strength.
to this, yes, this is his strength. And
all right.
you can walk along that
Okay.
path. Yes.
Well, I see our take home from all our conversation right now, it looks at the importance of structured pathways, gender inclusive development, and the role of standards, coaching and governance, to all of the things. If we can model and package, I look at the word packaging because we're putting them out there for the world to see what they have and what they can give to the society. And I appreciate what your academy is doing, and we look forward to other academies emulating from you and giving the young lads the best of the time. Thank you so much, Jamil Abdullahi, for being a part of this, and we say kudos to you. Thank you for shedding more light on how Nigeria can truly build from the grassroots up to where the future stands for young people.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's it. It's been a lot having this conversation there with Jamil. He's given us a guide to how more academies can put up the future for young people, deepen their knowledge base, and see how talents can stand tall for them. The future of our footballers depends on what we do today. So let's get it right. Let's get the right track. Let's get nutrition, welfare, grants, support the young minds, give them good education, because that's the basic thing. Being gender inclusive from both sides. Don't just look at it from one-sided part. Government policies, yes, our authorities are looking at a lot of policies to see how sports can stand tall, which is one area of also development to the nation as well. That's it. It's been an amazing time talking grassroots football, talent discovery, how we can nurture Nigeria's next generation of stars. Don't forget, our Super Eagles are playing this evening. Let's cheer them up to glory and see how we can be in the World Cup. Like I said, it will be a disaster if we don't get into the World Cup back to back. But what they played out, we hope that this narrative will change. It's still Global Morning. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this time out.